So everything was looking really rosy as far as Arsenal fans were concerned. And then Sean Dyche and Everton rolled around town and had their say. And their say ended up being something that could very well be a body blow, or is being perceived in some quarters as a body blow to what could or what should be their first title in over nearly 2 decades. But is that really the case? Can we declare a title tilt dead after one loss? And what exactly does Manchester City have to say about all of this? How does this go forward? Well, that's what me, Shane Reyes, and Mr. Harshit are here to discuss with you guys. So, Harshit, let us know.
You firstly didn't see this loss coming. That's point number one.
No.
You didn't
Arsenal
see
fans did though, apparently, because don't forget, prior to this, Arteta has not won a single match as Arsenal manager whenever he's travelled to Goodison Park, and Sean Dyche has a very good record against Arsenal.
Yes. And this, from an Everton perspective, totally that it could be a blip of sorts, I would say, because I would say this is something, as Everton fans, you can't really get carried away with, because it just happens. You see a change in leader. You saw with Lampard as well when he was brought in. You saw with Gerrard as well. First couple of games, the new manager bounce, so the beginner's luck, you tend to have that. But speaking of Arsenal, well, I am a little worried to be honest, when you talk about Arsenal's title challenge. And I for me, the sample size in just this game, it is also the game against Manchester United, I would say. 2 games, and I would say not just because happened to be on the red side of Manchester, but the fact that, in my opinion, Arsenal didn't deserve all 3 points from that game. I think it should be, in all fairness, it should have ended in stalemate, I would say. Both teams deserved something, and Arsenal, with whatever lead that they have right now, should have been 2 points short, if you ask me already, because they didn't deserve all 3 points there. And there you saw some frailties in this Arsenal attack, primarily, I would say, because going forward we saw it was a problem, like we saw yesterday as well. We know Jesus isn't going to be there for another couple of months.
Correct.
And that in many ways puts additional pressure, I would say, on somebody like a Trossard who's just come in. You're looking at Nketiah to deliver big time for you, and let's not forget that Martinelli, he's enjoyed good form right up till this point. He's not delivering over the last couple of game weeks. Now you saw Odegaard, yes, of course, take over in his not contributing much. But having said that, when Odegaard doesn't do well, you saw what happened yesterday then. And that's my concern with Arsenal going forward as well, because of these 2 games that have just happened. You do feel somewhere they are lacking. And why I'm saying this, that I feel that there's a bit of a blow as far as their title challenge is concerned, because they've got somebody like a Manchester City breathing down their necks, who do, by the way, play a game in a couple of hours time. They play against Tottenham Hotspur, and they could bring that gap down to 2 points. Having said that, City would have played an extra game. Arsenal will have a game in hand, and they could then extend the gap again and re-establish their 5-point lead. But it puts additional pressure on you to win all your subsequent matches if City play first. And that is something I am a little skeptical about with Arsenal going forward. Yes, they've had some reinforcements in place in the month of January. But having said that, it's that experience. Still a very young squad, by the way. They do average less than 25 years. Of course, the 2 signings that they made in January
were Trossard and Jorginho kind of make up for experience.
Exactly. That's where I feel that they're going to be really challenged over here, and really depends how Arsenal are able to bounce back from these 2 games, especially this defeat against Everton, which is why I have my doubts if Arsenal have it in them, because still we just done without 55% of the league. We just played 20 matches, there are another 18 to go, so there's still a lot of time, and that's where I feel Arsenal could just run thin.
Now see, I'll save my let's say my verdict for this later on, but there's one thing that I was watching with Arsenal. There are 2 things rather that concern me. One thing is that they always have this frailty against sides who play direct football.
Yes.
They've always had that, and that's been like an ever-present thing ever since the Wenger era. They've always been that one side who play very attractive, very beautiful football, but when they come against a side who are direct, they suffer. I'll never forget heydays of Chelsea whenever we were playing Arsenal. I was least bothered. Why? I knew you had Didier Drogba up front. Not only did he love scoring against Arsenal, but he bullied Arsenal centre-backs in a way that they could never handle.
Which is why when you play sides like Brighton, you play sides like Wolves, it's going to be those are always tricky games. Those are teams that play very direct football.
Even a Brentford for that matter. Ivan Toney is a master of playing that sort of set. And the second thing, and this is a bit tactical, but I did notice it a lot yesterday. With City, what they tend to do is when they're playing Alexander Zinchenko at left back, who pretty much is now their first choice left back. With Arsenal, sorry. He's a former City player.
Yes.
So with Arsenal, what they tend to do is that they'll encourage Zinchenko when they're in possession to kind of leave his left back position, and rather than overlap an attack, he'll kind of join in the midfield. That has two advantages. One, it's a good way to cut off a counter attack because you've got 4 men in midfield.
Yes.
The second thing is it adds to the passing options in midfield because you suddenly have another player very good with the ball at his feet who can add to the attack. Yesterday though, where Everton were really clever, they had 3 ball-winning midfielders in the centre.
Yes.
That tactic got nullified.
Yeah.
You had the likes of Idrissa Gana Gueye. You had their midfield was packed. So because of that tactic just stopped. And I think other teams are going to cotton on to that as well. In fact, it's very telling that yesterday Arteta withdrew 2 of his prime midfielders.
Yes.
Thomas Partey
Odegaard
and Martin Odegaard. Both were withdrawn. That's never a good sign.
Yes.
If you are actually withdrawing 2 of your best midfielders, it shows that you didn't really have that much control in the game to begin with.
Also, one of the common denominators or the common threads, if you see in games that Arsenal have lost this season, which isn't a lot, by the way, just 4 games, I believe, across competitions.
And 2 in the Premier League.
2 in the Premier League. Across competitions, yesterday's loss, I think, makes it 4 for them. Is the fact that whenever Partey has either not featured, yesterday's was the only game, by the way, wherein he featured, and Arsenal lost. In previous matches, he hadn't featured. So that also, I think, is a concern for me from an Arsenal perspective. When you look at City, though, in comparison, City are a side that play the same brand of football and can, and they offer the same thing even when they're rotating their squad.
True.
So they might play Foden or Grealish, depends. They might have Mahrez playing on the right hand side or not. Exactly. The style of play doesn't change and the results don't change more importantly for Manchester City.
But there's one thing, and there's one thing aside from, like, okay, look, Arsenal, I don't really have any love for obvious reasons. I'm wearing it on my chest quite literally. But I've been very impressed by how this side have played, and there's one thing which concerns me. This City side don't really have the same invincibility as the City of 2-3 seasons back. This year especially, City have looked very susceptible to that sudden collapse. You saw it happen against Manchester United. Yes. It happened. They were dominating the game and then gone.
They just fizzled out after a point, and then there was again. You saw somebody like you saw Palace, let's say, threaten more towards the fag end of the game than, let's say, City did, even when the game was being played at the Etihad. And that can happen with the City side, by the way. Very contrasting they can be at times. The Spurs highlights, which we were seeing just a while back. Again, they were out of sorts in that first half, but 2 substitutions. Again, that's where the masterclass of Pep Guardiola comes.
The mastermind at work.
2 substitutions and they have immediate impact. So, which is where I would say that, City are better pegged right now, let's say. Again, given the grander scheme of things, I would say, and this side, Arsenal side, by the way, extremely young, doesn't have the experience to go all the way.
Yeah, but see, again, I think experience is something that you don't necessarily need. It's great. Again, Leicester were a side that didn't have any Premier League winners, went the distance, and this City side are very much in descent, just a tad. Again, I think they're not in descent as much as they're struggling to kind of dare I say, and this is going to sound slanderous, but bringing in Erling Haaland has brought in a fresh problem for them. They are used to a false 9, someone who can contribute to the build-up play as much as the goals. Haaland is the archetype of that.
He has to be fed in.
Exactly. And he, as of now, is not a Harry Kane-like figure who can drop deep and effortlessly dictate the play. He can't.
Again, Harry Kane can be that perfect number 9 as well.
That's why I remember they targeted him when he said very clearly, I'm looking for a new challenge. They looked for him. He would have he would have been a perfect Pep 9. Haaland is not. He will have to work on aspects of his game. And when I say aspects, I mean several aspects. So I think they're caught in that sort of a transition. They do tend to have these liabilities when it comes to suddenly collapsing. And I think for me, I'm not declaring Arsenal's Premier League challenge dead yet.
Yeah.
It's because of the fact that they have 2 games against City to go.
Yes.
2 games.
Yes, that's another point I wanted to make. I won't call it dead either, but definitely I would say
Teetering.
I'd say you will probably see them tottering their way to the to the Premier League title if it is to materialize. I would say it's not going to be easy for them, and this is where I feel the running thing also, because it's just a 5-point lead. There are 2 City games that they have to play,
And don't forget, those City games can go both ways.
They can go both. They can, of course, be title deciders in themselves, or it can mean that Arsenal are then leapfrogged by Manchester City. So make or break games, rather, I would say, because Arsenal have gone through the United challenge they had. They do play Newcastle, by the way, but that's in the fag end of the month of March, if I'm not wrong.
I think more key will be the Chelsea game, and depending on how Chelsea are playing at that point.
It gets interesting if you ask me, because you don't expect a lot from Chelsea, because they're not playing inspiring football, let's be honest.
And they've bought a lot of players who will need to be...
Exactly. To gel in, it's going to take time for Graham Potter to come up with a system wherein these new signings can gel well, and they can be a force. And in 2 months' time, that's decent time, I would say, for you to get some sort of cohesion going forward. Remember, you talk about Manchester United and their revival, I would say, in many ways, or the resurrection that they've seen. But let's not forget that the first 2 games that Erik ten Hag had to manage, you could see the struggle. It takes time.
It does.
It absolutely takes time to get a system in place. Yes, Arsenal have a good system in place. They're being led by the right person. That is something I firmly believe in. Mikel Arteta is the right man for them at the moment. But it's the fact that it's an extremely young squad right now, and the 2 City games. The depth of squad also worries me just a little, and also fact that there's 18 more games to be played. So I think what this Everton defeat has meant for Arsenal is it's just made them more nervous, I would say.
That's quite likely. For me, I think, yes, the nerves will be there, but I still think this Arsenal side have something. Maybe they feel like they have a point to prove. Maybe they feel like, okay, I don't know, that they're finally at the edge or the cusp of achieving something really great. Because again, Arteta has had 3 years at the helm and got unequivocal backing by the board. He has actually, to his credit, got the side playing really good football. Pains me to admit it, but it's true. So, can they overcome that? I think right now it's not yet dead, but it was a major dent, because if they had to beat this Everton side, it was not just about keeping that 5-point lead alive. I think it was a massive psychological win that you can beat a side who look to make things difficult for you.
Also, what this could mean for Arsenal is that they've lost to a side who are rock bottom of the table. So it depends how you come out of such a defeat, because these are the kind of defeats that hurt you more.
Correct.
That hurt the morale of the team far more. Okay, you'd any day take a defeat to United or to City, or to, let's say, a Liverpool who are at the peak of their powers, but not at the point. But again, these sides who come with this big reputation, yes, exactly. But not against a side that's bottom of the table, and especially it becomes harder for you if you're right up top.
Anyway, I think we've both laid out our points of view. Let's see if our dear family members have anything to say. I mean, Sham Vatika is asking what's happened to Liverpool. Well, to be fair, Liverpool, I think I've done a video on it. You can check it out on the channel. I talk about a lot of struggles they've had. Look, the side clearly needs a bit of an overhaul, but perhaps more importantly, the ownership is not making things easy, because it's very clear that Fenway Sports Group are looking to sell. So they're not going to be investing too much money. They've lost a lot of key people in top positions. Michael Edwards left the role. Even players around him, people around him kind of left their positions or are on notice period. So very much Liverpool are a club in transition in more ways than one. And the results of that you're seeing right now on the field. So I think you're going to have to wait a while before the next challenge comes. And Klopp has already said that he wants to be there to rebuild the side. So that's your Liverpool thing. Sham, okay, wait. Harsh Khatri is saying that they have depth all over, mate. Come on. Just a fun fact for you. Harsh Khatri is our resident Arsenal fan.
Oh, okay.
So of course he'd say that.
Yes, there is. No, that's not. But again, what are the options really when you look at somebody like a Partey and let's say an Odegaard who don't have good games? Yes, you've got Jorginho now in the side to let's say.
Mind you, even Jorginho, I can tell you from experience,
he's not been at his best in, let's say, in Chelsea colours.
He's barely playing.
Exactly, for a reason, right?
For 2 reasons.
So yeah, which is where it worries me when you talk about Arsenal's strength in depth, if I can say.
Harsh Khatri is saying they've spent smart, unlike Chelsea and United have no strategy, just splurge. See, Chelsea do have a strategy, but yeah, I agree with the splurge part. United splurged on who exactly? They signed 2 loan players.
Yeah.
Sabitzer and who's the other? Wout Weghorst. Mr. Bobo.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sachin Kashyap says that the Everton loss should be an eye-opener. I agree with that. I think how they respond.
Yeah, exactly. But I won't call it an eye-opener, go to the extent of calling it an eye-opener, because see, you're allowed to have a bad game. My worry was the fact that they didn't create enough. So, but again, not an eye-opener, because see, again, you're allowed. I'd say you are allowed to have. You weren't embarrassed. That's the last. It hadn't been an embarrassment. I said, okay, yeah, maybe this is a bit of a howler. Yeah, exactly. But Odegaard wasn't good enough on the day.
And see, he's allowed to have off days. Okay?
Absolutely. The team, I would say, is allowed to have, which is why I think I was reading somewhere that I think Mikel Arteta wasn't the most upset with this squad.
I think, to be fair, he seems to be the type of character who tends to deal with things behind doors rather than in the public. He's done that a lot. He's a very smart character, that man. Vieira and Smith Rowe. Okay, Vieira I don't agree with. I think he's a good prospect, but again, if you're playing Vieira for 2 months straight, you're struggling. Smith Rowe, that man needs to stay fit. I'm really worried he's going down.
Also, I think with Ben White as well.
Ben White actually has been okay, considering all things considered. I'm okay with Ben White. Casemiro and Anthony were not free, but they were positions which they needed to strengthen. They needed a DM and they needed a winger. So fair enough. Also, I don't really mind.
From a United perspective, Barca United. Good thing will be that the ban now that
at least Casemiro won't be banned for that
match. So it sort of, from a United perspective, worries me going forward, because Sabitzer is still very new to the squad. You don't know.
Only on loan, mind you.
Only on loan. But having said that, in the Premier League, of course, I do have a fear that somewhere, though Sabitzer, I would say, started off well. I would say pretty happy with the kind of
the circumstances he was thrown in under.
But going forward, in that game between United and Barcelona, again, 2 sides, I would say, who had similar trajectories and they're on the same ascendancy, I would say.
But Barca, remember, are top of La Liga.
They are. So which is what I'm saying. They are in some sort of ascendancy. Both the clubs. It's going to be a thriller. I feel it's going to be a good match. But I just probably give United the edge at the moment.
I'm shocked
because of the fact that the team looks far more cohesive than, let's say, Barcelona playing at the moment. That's not to say that Barcelona aren't playing a good brand of football. But there's just been a couple of results wherein they've just managed to get those 3 points in the La Liga. And just comparing as to how the two clubs look at the moment, just United look high on confidence far more than Barcelona do right now.
I would go on the other side. I think Barcelona give a slight edge for 3 reasons. Pedri, Gavi and Robert Lewandowski. If any of those 3 men are on, I think United's midfield will struggle.
They could, but again, Casemiro just gives me a lot of confidence to just take on any midfield at the moment. He's just been so good, I would say. And you've had great Barcelona, Manchester United encounters.
And Harsh, don't need to stay away from the chats, man. It's all in good fun. We all like having a laugh at it. Anyway, I think that's our consensus on this. You think Arsenal need to be wary. I say they're still in with a chance. You guys can let us know what you think in the comments below. For now, though, we'll take your leave. And again, don't forget, if you enjoyed this, let us know. We'll keep bringing you more such episodes. Like, share, subscribe, leave us a comment, tap the bell, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook too, and download the SportsTak app. On behalf of Harsh and me, bye for now. Harshit, sorry. What's wrong with me? This is Harsh here. I blame you.